Welcome in. If you're lost as you transition out of the US military, come with me on this journey as we talk about VA benefits. Full disclosure, I'm just some guy. I don't actually know anything. This is just from a subreddit and something I made for a friend, and then it just kept growing, and then I figured I would just make it for the public. Yeah, this is not scripted. I just made this a month ago, forgot about it because I moved and I'm going through a divorce. And I realized, oh crap, I still need to do this for my friend. So here we go, guys. Come with me on this journey. There will be a link to this in the description. So if you want access to this PowerPoint, you can get it yourself. Okay, right off the bat, I would say that transitioning is very spooky. It's very scary. Yeah. And this is not at all some schemy, fraudy, whatever. I hate that shit. Okay, so what is actually available? We're going to go over some resources, how it all goes, how to apply, and then just some random stuff, okay? So the biggest benefits that we'll be covering are VA disability benefits, veterans readiness and employment, and then I'm not really going to go into any of the local state benefits, but definitely something that you should look into yourself. Oh. All right, so disability, right? Please just don't be fraudulent. You make it worse for all of us. Look into the master conditions list. So that is on a subreddit here. So if we go to Reddit and we search for veterans benefits, look at that. Sheesh. So then you click on their knowledge base here. And then right up here, master conditions list. So this bad boy has a list of all the different conditions that exist. And so I highly encourage you to scroll through this at some point and be like, does any of this apply to me? Or like, oh, that sounds like something that might apply. I might have a Gusha. Let me take a look-see. What is a Gusha? And then, sorry, I'm super zoomed in here. Oh, wow. Loss of sense of smell. Loss of sense of taste. Jeez. Okay, so complete loss of sense, 10%. Cool. There you go. I don't know what could cause you to have that, but it's on there, baby. So yeah, definitely something to scroll through. Absolutely. And yeah, we're just going to call it VB in this slideshow. So then there's a BDD. That's a benefits delivery at discharge. And so you can do all of your VA filing and claims before you get out of the military, and then it just kind of kicks in, which I would highly recommend. If you are getting med boarded out, which is medically separated due to a condition, it's a different process, but somewhat similar. And then, I mean, keep in mind, right, we're all gonna be in our heads and feel like we don't deserve things or that we haven't earned them or people had it worse. Just vibe, guys, just vibe. Follow your heart, follow your gut. You have earned everything that you can get. So in general, this is what it's gonna look like, okay? You file your BDD claim, and if you don't file it, that's okay. That's okay, it's not the end of the world. What you can do is file this thing called an intent to file. And it's basically like, yo, I haven't figured my shit out yet, but I want all of the back pay or back dates to start now. So the intent to file is kind of cluing them into, all of these things are starting here, right? And then keep in mind, I might end up saying a thing or two that's completely and blatantly wrong. And I apologize for that. So fact check me, all right? but this is just my own experience. Don't yell at me, okay? So yeah, you're gonna file your little intent to file. You're gonna obtain your evidence, organize it. Now this is the secret, okay? If you file a claim and it's very disorganized and you haven't provided the details and resources and information that they need, it's most likely going to not be as successful of a claim as you would like. So the more easy you make it for them to analyze your conditions, your problems, and then relate that to the paperwork that they have, Gucci gang, right? So after you file your claim, you're kind of just waiting for these things called C&P exams, which are compensation and pension. And so that's where you go to like your hearing test and they check your hearing loss. Or you go to your little doctor and they stretch your shoulder out to see the range of motion, to see how much your shoulder mobility will affect your disability, or your back pain, or whatever, right? C&P exams don't happen all at once. They happen over the course of several weeks, maybe even months. I think mine, I had to drive like 3.5 hours just to take a 10-minute hearing test. Oh, I was so upset. Sorry, guys. I think the lo-fi might be a little loud. My sincerest apologies. Just lowered it a little bit. Yeah, and then once you finish all your C&P exams, you're just waiting, dude. You're just waiting in the mail. You're just gonna sit there every day checking the mail. Oh, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? But don't be too scared for your C&P exams. We'll talk more about them later. But definitely one of the most stressful parts of the process. So this is the BDD claim, right? So you're going to want to start to file this 180 to 90 days. And these are given priority, right? Oh, yeah. And so over here, what we're seeing is that you absolutely need to go to your doctor or PCM before you get out of the military for whatever conditions or problems you're having. Because if that's the case, as far as I know, they will be service connected, which is where like you have this disability or this problem due to the military. Whereas if you wait until way after you get out and you end up realizing, hey, I had this problem, but I never actually was seen for it while I was in. Now there's kind of this doubt casted on it of, oh, well, did it really develop because of the military? So yeah, please go and see your doctor. So what actually is service connection? So there needs to be a cause for military service, or it could be a pre-existing condition that gets worse. It could be a presumptive condition, such as, I can't think of the exact wording, but it's like Agent Orange, or like if you were deployed or in certain theaters of war due to some stuff that they know happened, but it's like impossible to prove. Congress was just like, yo, if you served at this place during this time, you get this. So definitely look into any presumptive conditions that might apply to you. Yeah, primary also just caused by service. And then secondary, secondary, would be a service-connected disability causes other problems, right? So in one example, you might have, let's just say bipolar 2. And you end up getting put on medication for that, and then that medication gives you erectile dysfunction. Well, it's not as though the military gave you ED, but in the attempt to deal with the issue that not necessarily was caused by the military, but let's say aggravated and pre-existing got way worse, then that would be a secondary thingamabob, right? And what's interesting is you can get service connected, not just through your primary doctor's notes and records. There's a lot more you can do to make it happen. So a nexus letter, independent medical opinion. So these are people like an audiologist, a psychiatrist, just like some fancy doctor person, right? There are services out there that you can pay for that, like, I don't know, I never really looked into them, but apparently they like hook you up or something, but most of them are just like scams or fake news, and you can do it all yourself or with an actual like real doctor or something. But yeah, don't get scammed. Don't Google for like Nexus letter online, $22. And your nexus letters should stick to the facts. There should be a physician has like reviewed it all. That should be a statement. And then they should explain the reasoning there. So this is an example, right? Here's an example. Date, reference, their information. I am Dr. blah, blah, blah. I'm board certified. It's like build up their credentials, talk about your diagnosis and how it affects you, right? Okay, moving along. I don't know why this sentence I'm paraphrasing is here. I mean, I made this when I was high, so, you know, we'll see what happens, okay? Oh, yeah. So not only can you supply nexus letters, but you can also supply other types of evidence. So one of them would be your private medical records. So like if you see a psychiatrist out in town, or if you have your own people that you go to for physical therapy, right? You can get information from them and use that as evidence. Buddy statements, crucial. Yeah. Because so much of this is like, just hard, not necessarily to prove, but hard to validate, and hard to feel confident in yourself, right? And so asking your friends for some statements, or even just making some yourself can be very helpful. I remember after one of my mental health exams, I ended up telling them like all these positives. And then afterwards, I was like, wait, hold on. I just told them like all of these things that are true on my best days when I'm most able to function. So I kind of made myself seem like a normal human being. But in reality, everything that I said was like 1 out of every 300 days. But I like tried to hype myself up, you know, because I didn't want to like seem like I was faking anything. And so then I ended up writing a personal statement that I submitted with the claim after that CNP exam. And I basically just explained that. And I was like, yo, I'm so sorry. But during this exam, I got anxious and thought they'd think I was faking it. So I said all my stuff about like my best days, but that's not how my life usually is. So like you can get wild with it, right? There's no real correct way to go about this, except for, how do I say this? Like there is a correct way to go about this, but there's many different ways to go about it, right? In that one method. So here's an example of some buddy statements, right? It could be anyone that you really know, honestly. And they should use this VA form. And so this VA form is literally just statement. Describe what you yourself know or have observed about the facts or circumstances relevant to this claim. That's pretty much it. And a bunch of fancy, you know, this is who I am. And then you also have your personal statements. So this is where you'll talk about everything in your own words. So if you're filing for PTSD or, you know, like, I don't know, a damaged knee or a hurt back or something. Like, me, I was crawling around in the bilge for hours. I was in the Navy, served on an aircraft carrier. The bilge is like some little area where there's a bunch of pipes and you're like doing gymnastics to crawl around down there and your knees get fucked up on this super hard concrete, or not concrete, but metal or whatever. I don't know. And yeah, you're just in weird angles. It's terrible. And so like explaining that, right, is like, yo, like this made my life worse, you know? Okay, so here's an example buddy statement. I'm not gonna read it, but just feel free to pause here for a moment. I'll move my camera out of the way. All right, bet. Here's another one. Feel free to read it real quick. All right, bet. And this is an example of another personal statement. And lastly, here's another one. Ooh, symptom manifestation. Wow. And then, yeah, right, there's even like a log you could do. So one example would be I have these random like stabs in the back of my head that happen sometimes. And so I had to log those and how often they happened. And then during my my C&P exam, there was like my general one. Those came up, and yeah, I just walked him through it. Had my cute little logbook ready, and just talked him through it. Right. Okay, so one thing I want to point out with what we just looked through was that most of it was sticking to the facts, and it was very to the point. It was very more so about the data, the information, and not so much about your feelings regarding it, or not so much about how it makes you feel, but more so how it affects your life in physical, tangible ways, right, that they can see. So for your C&P exams, it's scary, dude. You know, like it's gonna decide so much. So I would highly encourage you to go through the subreddit Veterans Benefits, do a little Googling, and just familiarize yourself with the process more, and try to have a pretty decent mental headspace going into it. You know, do your best to not be anxious, maybe avoid caffeine that morning. Definitely leave early. The last thing you want to do is show up stressed and out of breath, right? So you want to know what your exam is for, absolutely. And then you want to read the DBQ, or Disability Benefits Questionnaire, for whatever you're being seen for. And so if you're being seen for, let's just say sinusitis, right? You should not go in blind, having no idea what would be considered as sinusitis, because you might have all of the things that would count for sinusitis, but because you don't know the specific wordage, verbiage, or symptoms that would cause them to be applicable to you, you'll talk about it from your own experience, but you just won't mention the correct keywords or the correct or like identifiable issues that clearly outline sinusitis. And instead you'll get sidetracked and talk about some shit that they can't really use or it's not applicable. Then look at the rating schedule. So what that is look at what symptoms correlate to what different ratings, so that you're more aware of what to expect based on your symptoms. And yeah, just please, like, be honest. Don't lie. Like, it's not worth it, okay? And then after the exam, right, you're just going to be stuck in anxiety, waiting. You're scared. And then there may be a need for re-examinations in one or two areas. That was not the case for me, but it could happen. Okay, so the DBQ, or Disability Benefits Questionnaire. Yeah, I think this is from the template that I got some of this dinosaur stuff from. I edited it and changed a lot of it to make it cuter. But yeah, I think this was about like grammar, and I forgot to change that. Okay, so yeah, I think this is just an extra slide that I already showed you guys. That's embarrassing. Okay, perfect. So if you don't know the language of the VA, how do you expect yourself to communicate with them and actually have it be effective, right? Like, you're not going to show up to a to an anime convention having no idea about what anime is. And then, oh god, I sound like a weeaboo talking about anime. And then be like, oh, yeah. You know, like, you're not gonna know anything. And they're not gonna be able to understand you if you're like, yeah, that one flying dude with the magical powers. You know, you gotta know the terminology. So yeah, DBQ, right, Disability Benefits Questionnaire. So, with the DBQ, that is something that your a professional physician is going to end up filling out. And so there are certain categories that do require a specialist. So typically your CNP exam will be like one all-encompassing one for most of your issues. And then there will be some that make you go to a specialist. So here we can see there's mental health, hearing loss, traumatic brain injury. And yeah, just please, guys, there's no need to sugarcoat your problems. There's no need to be afraid that you're faking anything. No one is there to judge you. No one is there to doubt you or question you. Just be honest, you know, and present your symptoms as if it was your worst day with those symptoms, right? The last thing you want to do is what I did, where you get scared and try to make your situation seem better than it is. Okay, so this is all of the different ratings and their percentages. Based on mental health ratings. So here you can see 0%. You aren't really impaired at all. Okay, 10%. You'll occasionally have, you know, some anxiety, some mood changes, and then it just kind of gets worse from there. Okay. And these are all things that you wanna look through and read through, so that you're better able to understand what does apply to you and what doesn't. Because you might have, you know, let's just say states of delusions and hallucinations, but you don't think that's something that would relate to this particular exam. But as long as you've read through these things, you're like, oh, wait, that does apply. Let me make sure I bring that up. Because the vast majority of veterans don't get, in my opinion, the rating that they deserve due to them being just uninformed, right? And they're not quite sure how to express the things that they've gone through. All right, let's continue this journey together. So yeah, here are a list of different evidence that they will probably go through. And this is all dependent upon what you can provide them with, right? Notice how some of the things we've talked about are on here, right? Oh, yeah. So keywording here, right? A veteran's rating is based upon the rating percentage that most closely resembles the totality of their symptoms. And so you might have, you know, 40% of the issues, or I don't want to use a percentage because that'll be confusing. You might have a couple of the symptoms of a higher rating, but the majority of your symptoms are in the one just below it for a little bit of a lower rating. That's where you're probably going to end up being, right? It's whichever one most closely resembles all of your symptoms. And these are really the four main areas: care for yourself, work, social life, and symptoms. And so this is that massive wall of small text, larger, more easily accessible. So this is your 0, this is your 10, this is both 30. And yeah, you can just pause it and read through these yourself. Oh, hold on. Let me move my camera out of the way for that one. This is 50. Yeah, it's a lot, right? And that's why this is so intimidating and so scary. One thing here is notice how most of this is not feelings, right? None of this is, yeah, I feel so sad all the time, or like, I feel miserable about myself, or I feel stressed, I feel anxious. This is, I don't want to say it's feelings based. It's very symptoms based, not feelings based. So you can see here, let's just use 50 as an example, right? Often forgets to do, how to do, or to complete tasks. Nightly sleep disturbances. Has thoughts of suicide. Extreme lack of motivation and or mood swings. So you might describe like, yeah, I'm very moody. Or like, I feel as though my feelings are all over the place all the time. And you know, a smart examiner can make that correlation, but it's important to also include values when you can. And so instead of just saying like, yeah, I occasionally have panic attacks, in order to make sure that they're able to put you in a rating that applies to how many panic attacks you get, because that could affect your rating, right? You should apply numerical values when possible. And so if you are able to have a log and track, okay, this is my 5th panic attack of the week. Let me look at the other 4 weeks that I've tracked this. Okay, I typically have 4 to 5. Cool, so let's base it upon my worst week. We'll say 5 panic attacks a week, right? That's gonna help them much more than, yeah, I have panic attacks sometimes throughout the week. Yeah. So then here's 100. Yeah. Okay, so VA math is wild, guys. It is so confusing. So a lot of the time, you're like, okay, like you're trying to plan out your finances, right? So you're like, if I get this rating, in order to survive, I'm gonna have to find a job that pays this much, or I'm gonna be able to afford this type of an apartment, or, you know, you're gonna base your living expenses off of what you can reasonably expect, which, keep in mind, is a terrible idea, right? You should always plan for the worst. But if you're in a situation where you're just like, I need something to help to give me a baseline, right? Definitely fail conservatively if you do that. But here you can see Jeff's ratings. So you start with the highest percentage of all of Jeff's ratings. So his highest rating is for his back pain, 40%. So Jeff's total is 100 minus 40 equals 60%. So Jeff's combined total rating is 40%. Then his left knee is at 30. So then you take the 16, or the 60, which we got from here, minus the 18, which the 18 is obtained from taking 30% off of 60. So you take 30% of the value before it, and then you subtract that from the value to get the new value. And I know that's confusing, and I know that I'm explaining this terribly. Unless I go to a VA math calculator when I'm helping people figure this out, I get lost. So this is just an example. Hopefully it makes sense to you. Okay, so then this is 70%. I think I just forgot about it or put the slide in the wrong spot. So yeah, feel free to pause it here if you like. Wow, and that's it. That's what I did. That's what I made. Wow. So I actually, I guess, didn't make the VR&E portion. So that's embarrassing. What I will tell you is let's just pull it up together, guys. Let's just run through it. God, this is so much worse than I thought it was gonna be. So hopefully you don't hate me. So we're gonna go to the knowledge base here. And you can go to education and employment. And shout out to Veterans Benefits. Pretty much everything I know about any of this is from Veterans Benefits. So here is Veterans Readiness and Employment, VR&E. It's similar to the GI Bill, but in my opinion, it's better. Sorry, I'm roasting. All right, so here, you need to have a service-connected disability of at least 10%. Serious employment handicap and received anything other than a dishonorable discharge, or that combined to at least 20. Yeah. So then you have to meet one of the following criteria. So the IDES process is pretty good if you're getting medically separated, or you have this. Okay, so the VR&E is for 2 years, or 4 years. And then for veterans who use the GI Bill, the time spent using VR&E does not count against your GI Bill, and the GI Bill does not count against VR&E, which is fantastic. However, in order to get the full 9/11 GI Bill rates, you need to have at least, I don't know if it's 1 day or 1 month of your GI Bill remaining, but if you plan on swapping over to VR&E at some point, do not use all of your GI Bill, save a little bit of it. Yeah, and so you're gonna try to go to these thingamabobs here, and realistically, the process to get to reemployment is education. Okay, so yeah, applying. Let's just go online and apply, baby girl. So yeah, it's all through the va.gov website. It takes about 10 minutes. Do it. Do it. You've earned it. Someone will reach out. They'll make a little plan for you. And you actually talk with them and figure out what job you want to do. So I'm a little bit of a weird case because I was clueless and lost. Well, I guess that's normal, huh? But I initially said that, I was like, ooh, watchmaking sounds cool. So on my initial application, talking with the people, I was like, dude, let me try to be a watchmaker. But then that was an L. So then I was like, all right. Let me be a business accountant manager. And then I hated that. So then I was able to swap over to social studies education, and now I'm in love, right? My advisor pretty much did talk shit to me and be like, dude, you can't swap this again. This is your last chance. Like, you are stuck with this. So, you know, like, don't expect to try 3 different things. Maybe I got lucky. Yeah. And there's like a whole survey thingamabob you fill out, a little exam or 2 that you take to see what areas you're good in, like spatial awareness or this. And just work through it, you know. Fill out the questionnaires, do the surveys. It's worth it, guys. So VR&E does pay for your supplies. So books, cameras, laptops, pencils, everything. It's fantastic. And yeah, like these are just a bunch of references available here. Whew. Please look into VR&E if you have any amount of a disability rating and want to go to school. And then for state and local benefits, I would highly encourage you. Oh yeah, this is the rating schedule index. Oh look, it is critical that you be 100% brutally honest with your C&P. Wow. So here you can see it break down several different ratings that relate to mental health. So you can see here, anxiety disorders, cognitive, disassociative. And I guess the reason I'm going into mental a lot more than other things is because that's just what I'm the most familiar with. For no particular reason. Okay, yeah, so keep in mind, right, this is how they're going to decide, right, your DBQ, your Nexus letters, your buddy letters. So let's go through an example together. Let's say I have, let's just make something up here, right? Let's just confer with the spirits, just to show that I'm not making this up. Please give me 3 examples of injuries a Navy veteran may sustain due to their military service. Okay, hearing loss and tinnitus, that's fake news. Musculoskeletal injuries. Okay, perfect. Shoulder injuries. Love that. I'm very unfamiliar with PTSD, so we're going to skip that. So we'll say shoulder injuries and lower back pain. So I think those might apply to me based upon my medical records, my history. And so let's just think about this really quickly. If I've been dealing with shoulder pain over the course of my career due to in 2020 on deployment, something happened as I was doing some work, yada yada. Hopefully there's some records of that. And so hopefully you can be able to look back at your medical records and point out and highlight things such as like the dates that you attended physical therapy or your doctor's, I think it's called diagnosis or prognosis. You can show when you went to those medical appointments. You can show the days of work that you missed due to your medical appointments, and all of those things are contributing factors, right? So knowing that I have this shoulder injury, I'll go over to the knowledge base, check out the master conditions list. And I like to go through A through Z myself. And then let me just hit them with a S. And we'll see if it's over here. Syphilis, definitely not that. Oh, strain, back. Nice. Strain, shoulder. Look at that. Sorry, let me zoom in so you can see this. Oh. Boom. Look at that. Strain, shoulder. All right, so let's check this out. So these are all the different options. So if you have amputated, if you had anything amputated, there's this thing called special monthly compensation, which I'm not going to go into too much detail, but basically it's extra money for extra bad things. So then there's different options for your shoulder pain. So what actually is the issue here? Is it joint stiffness, a replacement? Is it due to you not being able to fully move your shoulder? And all of your symptoms and medical evidence should point towards 1, 2, or maybe even all of these, right? It all depends. And so then you can find out, okay, cool. A 30% rating is frequent episodes and guarding of all arm movements. So that's like, okay, I am unable to move my shoulder and I'm always scared about it, right? And that's for like dislocations. Okay. Typically, I would say range of motion is what I've seen most people end up getting disability for, based upon my anecdotal evidence with my friends. Yeah. So then let's check out the DBQ for shoulder and upper arm. So remember, this is the Disability Benefits Questionnaire. This is kind of what the doctor is going to use to check out the vibe. So here it's going to get filled out. So this is your medical history of the veteran's shoulder. So just a brief history, right? They're going to fill that in. Does the veteran repair any flare-ups? So does it get worse randomly based upon things that you do? So then they're going to perform a little test. So you can try to be aware of that test and do it at home, or even do it during one of your flare-ups. Because remember, they want to base these ratings off of when your condition is the most severe. And so you might go to your C&P, but it's not during a flare-up or a bad day of it. And so then you might perform a little bit better. So if you check yourself beforehand during a worse day, you could possibly bring that up and be like, hey, I'm not actually having a flare-up today, but when I checked it myself at home, this is kind of the range of motion I was able to get. Or like, here are some physical therapy records that indicate this is the case sometimes. Yeah. And so you can read through this and understand all of the criteria that would affect your shoulder rating. So is there pain when it's carrying weight? Or is there pain when there's no weight? Is there pain when it's active, or even if it's just chilling? You know what I'm saying? And then this is like actual things, not feelings, but things that get affected due to your disability. So these are actionable, physical, evidential thingamabobs. So pain on movement, swelling, atrophy, etc., etc. And so if you just show up and you haven't read through or are aware of any of this, they might ask you questions and you casually, not even really thinking about it, either underplay your symptoms or use the wrong verbiage to describe what you're going through. And then you don't get the rating that you deserve. Or you don't get the rating that matches the conditions that you have, right? That's, I guess, better wording. Yeah, and then there's a lot of different areas in which you can be tested for. So you might have shoulder instability and dislocation or a labral pathology, but then you don't have some of the other issues like muscle strength or something. I don't know. Okay, and then this is good. Provide the impact of only the diagnosed conditions without consideration of the impact of other medical conditions or factors. So this is where they're going to provide their diagnosis regardless of other issues that you may have going on and focus solely on this one sole problem. Yeah. So then knowing they're going to fill out that DBQ when you go to the C&P for that, you'll be a lot more informed. Let's see. Another example would be, I don't know, let's just scroll through and click on one. What is this? Lung disease. Okay, I don't know anything about lung disease. I think strain low back pain would actually be a good one. Hey, take me back. Wait, did I go too far? Oh, I went too far. That's okay. We'll just click on another one. Hey, eating disorders, a classic. So they only will rate eating disorders that result in extreme weight loss. So that's also good to know, because you might think like, fuck, I've struggled with eating my entire career. It all started once I joined and I had problems with eating due to my anxiety or something, right? Like, you never know. But that's not going to apply unless these metrics were met due to your eating disorder. So it's important to know beforehand so that you can better expect what will or will not be approved. Because you might think, absolutely, yes, I have an eating disorder, it's on the list, I'm gonna get that. But then once you look more at the specifics, you're cooked. So just something to keep in mind. Yeah. What other resources that I want to show you on here? Oh yeah, so in the knowledge base, they also have literally step-by-step examples of how to do what you want to do. So if you want to file a claim, come here. And then look, go to this website. And then after it goes down there, you can keep scrolling. And look, that little PowerPoint that I had of the intent to file, look at that. It tells you all about the intent to file. You keep scrolling down, boom, tells you more and more and more. And right when it ends, right, it breaks you down into obtaining evidence. It shows you your records and how you can get them. And it has links to everything, guys, everything. So please check this out. Yeah, okay, hopefully any of this helped make you feel a little bit better. I'm sorry if I wasted your time. And I wish you the best. And hey, thank you for your service. Yeah, I mean, for me at least, the military was really terrible. So I really hope that you're able to get out and live your best life. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a good one. Bye.